If you want to understand the boundaries of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Welcome to Nikola Tesla Files. The day Manhattan started shaking. New York City, 1898. A perfectly ordinary afternoon. People walking the streets. Vendors selling newspapers. Horse-drawn carriages clattering over cobblestones. Then it started. A low hum, barely audible at first, like a distant train approaching through a tunnel. But it wasn't getting closer. It was getting stronger. Windows began to rattle. Not violently, just a gentle vibration, barely noticeable. Then the vibration spread. To the walls, to the floors, to the very foundations of the buildings themselves. People stopped walking. They looked around, confused. What was happening? The vibration intensified. Pictures fell from walls. Glasses tumbled from shelves. And then the unthinkable happened. Cracks appeared in building facades. Masonry crumbled. Police officers ran into the streets, shouting evacuations. New York City was experiencing an earthquake. In the middle of Manhattan, where earthquakes don't happen. But this wasn't a natural earthquake. This was something far stranger, something far more terrifying. Because somewhere in a small laboratory on Houston Street, a wild-haired inventor was standing next to a device the size of a shoebox. And he was watching with growing horror as his little machine threatened to tear the city apart. His name was Nikola Tesla, and he had just discovered something that would change warfare forever. The machine no bigger than a clock. Here's what makes this story absolutely mind-bending. The device that was shaking Manhattan wasn't some massive industrial machine. It wasn't powered by explosives. It wasn't even particularly loud. It was a small mechanical oscillator. A device so simple, so elegant, that Tesla later described it as childishly easy to construct. The core component was a piston attached to an electromagnet. When activated, the piston would move up and down at a specific frequency. That's it. That's the entire machine. Down, down. A simple rhythmic motion. But Tesla had tuned this motion to a very specific frequency. A frequency that matched the natural resonance of the building's structure. And when you match the resonant frequency of any object, something extraordinary happens. The object begins to vibrate in sympathy with your signal. The vibrations build. They amplify. They grow exponentially with each cycle. It's the same principle that allows an opera singer to shatter a wine glass. The glass has a natural resonant frequency. Sing at that exact pitch and the glass begins to vibrate. Hold the note long enough, and the vibrations become so intense that the molecular bonds holding the glass together literally break apart. Tesla had built a device that could do this to buildings, to bridges, to entire city blocks, and he was testing it in the heart of Manhattan. When the buildings started to scream, Tesla's assistant, George Scherf, was in the laboratory when the experiment began. He later gave a chilling account of what happened that afternoon. Mr. Tesla activated the device, Scherf recalled. At first, nothing seemed unusual. There was only a faint humming sound, barely perceptible. Mr. Tesla was taking measurements, adjusting frequencies, completely absorbed in his work. Then I felt it, a vibration in my feet, like standing on a platform while a train passed underneath. But we weren't near any train tracks. The vibration grew stronger, tools on the workbench began to dance. Bottles clinked against each other. And then the building itself began to groan. Scherf described the sound as almost alive, as if the building had awakened and was crying out in pain. Beams creaked, walls shuddered, dust rained down from the ceiling. Mr. Tesla's expression changed. Scherf continued. The scientific curiosity vanished. In its place was something I had never seen before. Fear. Tesla rushed to the device and tried to switch it off. But the oscillator had built up such momentum that the switch did nothing. The machine kept running. The vibrations kept building. The entire building was now shaking violently. Outside, people were screaming. Police whistles shrieked. The sound of breaking glass echoed through the streets. Tesla grabbed a sledgehammer. In one desperate motion, he smashed his own invention to pieces. The vibrations stopped instantly. The building fell silent, and Nikola Tesla stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of his machine, breathing hard, realizing how close he had come to catastrophic disaster. The police arrived too late. Within minutes, police officers burst through the laboratory door. They had traced the epicenter of the disturbance to Tesla's building. They demanded to know what had happened. Tesla, ever the showman even in crisis, calmly explained that he had been conducting a harmless experiment in mechanical resonance. A minor miscalculation, he assured them. Nothing to worry about. Certainly nothing that would happen again. The police were suspicious but had no evidence of wrongdoing. No one had been injured. The damage was minimal once the vibrations stopped. They issued a warning and left. But Tesla knew the truth. He had nearly destroyed several city blocks with a machine small enough to fit in his pocket. And if he could do it by accident in a laboratory, what could be done deliberately with a properly designed weapon? The implications were staggering and terrifying. The science that shouldn't exist. Tesla's earthquake machine worked on a principle so simple that it seems impossible it could be so destructive. It's called mechanical resonance, and it's one of the most powerful forces in physics. Every object has a natural frequency at which it wants to vibrate. For a wine glass, it might be 400 Hertz. For a bridge, it might be 0.5 Hertz. For a building, somewhere in between. When you apply a force to an object at its resonant frequency, even a tiny force, the object begins to oscillate. Each oscillation adds energy to the system. The amplitude of the vibration grows with each cycle. This is how a child on a swing can swing higher and higher with minimal effort. By pushing at the exact right moment at the swing's natural frequency, each small push builds on the previous ones. Tesla's oscillator did the same thing. It delivered small, rhythmic pulses of energy directly into the building's structure. Each pulse was timed perfectly to match the building's natural resonance. The first pulse caused a tiny vibration. The second pulse amplified it. The third pulse amplified it further. And so on, building exponentially until the vibrations became powerful enough to literally tear the building apart. The truly frightening aspect is how little energy this requires. Tesla's device consumed only a few watts of electrical power. But by perfectly timing the delivery of that energy, it could generate destructive forces equivalent to tons of conventional explosives. It's not about how much force you apply. It's about when you apply it. The weapon Tesla refused to build. After the Manhattan incident, Tesla understood exactly what he had created. a weapon of unimaginable destructive potential. A device that could level entire cities without explosions, without fire, without any of the conventional tools of warfare. Just vibration, just resonance, just physics operating at its most elegant and terrifying. Military officials approached Tesla almost immediately. They had heard about the incident. News of mysterious earthquakes in Manhattan spread quickly through military intelligence circles. They wanted to know if Tesla could build a larger version, a weapon that could be deployed against enemy fortifications. Tesla refused. Absolutely, completely, without hesitation. He had seen what his small laboratory oscillator could do. He understood that a properly engineered version could collapse bridges from miles away, could trigger real earthquakes by matching the resonant frequency of geological faults, could destroy entire cities while leaving the attacker completely untraceable. It would be the end of civilization, Tesla told a colleague, not because of the destruction it would cause, but because of the fear it would create. A weapon that strikes without warning, from an unknown source, against which there is no defense. Humanity is not ready for such power, so Tesla destroyed his notes. He smashed his remaining prototypes. He vowed never to discuss the technical details of the device with anyone. But the knowledge couldn't be completely erased. Tesla had proven the principle. Others could rediscover it. And as the decades passed, others did. The modern nightmare. Today, military research into resonant frequency weapons continues in classified facilities around the world. The technology has advanced far beyond Tesla's simple mechanical oscillator. Modern directed energy weapons can deliver precisely tuned electromagnetic pulses that induce resonance in structures from kilometers away. Satellite systems can map the resonant frequencies of buildings, bridges, and infrastructure with incredible precision. Computer-controlled oscillators can adjust frequencies in real time to maximize destructive effect. And most disturbing of all, there is credible evidence that such weapons have already been used. In 2010, Haiti experienced a devastating earthquake that killed over 200,000 people. Seismologists noted unusual characteristics about the quake. The epicenter was surprisingly shallow. The frequency signature didn't match typical tectonic activity. And in the days before the earthquake, several countries had deployed research vessels, equipped with powerful sonar arrays near the Haitian coast. Coincidence? Perhaps. But Tesla's earthquake machine proved that it's possible to trigger earthquakes artificially. And the military applications of such capability are impossible to ignore. In 2011, Japan's Fukushima earthquake exhibited similar anomalies. An unusually focused epicenter, frequency patterns that puzzled seismologists. And again, military vessels in the area conducting research just days before the disaster. These might be natural events. They probably are. But the technology to create artificial earthquakes exists. Tesla proved it over a century ago, and modern versions of his device would be virtually impossible to detect or trace. That's the nightmare Tesla foresaw. Not the weapon itself, but the paranoia and fear it would create. When any earthquake could potentially be an attack, when any structural failure could be deliberate sabotage, trust between nations becomes impossible. The secret that walks among us. Here's something that will keep you up at night. Tesla's earthquake machine was small, portable, easy to conceal, and devastatingly effective. A modern version could fit inside a briefcase. It could be placed near the foundation of any building and set to gradually increase vibrations over hours or days. By the time anyone noticed what was happening, the structural damage would be irreversible. How many buildings are vulnerable right now? How many bridges? How many dams? We have no way to know, because resonant frequency weapons are silent. They're invisible. They leave no forensic evidence. A building that collapses from induced resonance looks exactly like a building that collapsed from structural failure. The perfect, untraceable weapon. The perfect tool for covert warfare. The perfect instrument of terror. This is what Tesla understood in 1898. This is why he destroyed his machine and refused to rebuild it. He saw the future that such technology would create. A future where no structure is safe, where paranoia replaces trust, where the line between accident and attack becomes impossible to determine. And we're living in that future now. The machine that still exists. Despite Tesla's efforts to suppress the technology, his earthquake machine wasn't forgotten. The fundamental principle that resonance can amplify small forces into destructive ones is too simple to suppress. Any competent engineer can build a basic version, and some have, in underground laboratories, in classified military facilities, in the workshops of mad inventors who believe they can succeed where Tesla feared to tread. These devices exist. They're being refined. They're being tested. And sooner or later, they will be used. The only question is, will we recognize the attack when it happens? Or will we dismiss it as just another tragedy? Just another earthquake? Just another structural failure? Tesla tried to warn us. With his own terrified actions on that day in 1898, when he smashed his creation rather than let it exist. With his repeated refusal to discuss the technology. With his dire predictions about what such weapons would mean for civilization. But we didn't listen. We never listened. The machine that almost destroyed Manhattan was destroyed. But the knowledge that created it cannot be destroyed. It lives on, waiting to be rediscovered, waiting to be deployed, and somewhere in a laboratory we'll never see, in a facility whose existence is denied, that knowledge is being transformed into weapons we can't defend against. The earthquake machine is real. It works, and it's more terrifying now than when Tesla first built it. Because now it's not just a laboratory curiosity. It's a weapon, and it's already in use. Remember, if you want to understand the boundaries of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla understood those boundaries. He understood what they meant. And he understood that some knowledge is too dangerous to exist. But it's too late for that now. The knowledge exists. The weapons exist. The only thing that remains to be seen is how they'll be used. And whether we'll even recognize the attack when it comes.